Enters the second half of the 2022 season and our annual visit to Scotland and the wonderful Knockhill circuit. Later in the show we'll have the latest round of the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain, but first it's the turn of the Ginetta Juniors.
Josh Rowledge will be on pole position once again this weekend. A couple of tenths as an advantage on second fastest times from yesterday, starting alongside Elite Motorsport's Joe Warhurst. First-time winner yesterday, Maurice Henry starts third alongside Sonny Smith, and it's Zach Meakin and Fergus Chalmers completing the top six. Harry Reynolds, the young Welshman, alongside Akel Alibi, then Alicia Parmovsky and Kanato Lee. Will McIntyre could make progress from the inside of row 6 alongside Liam McNeely. Then it's Ian Aguilera, the Mexican, alongside Jacob Hodgkiss and Luca Hopkinson alongside Ella Lloyd. Luke Watson, Mackenzie Douglas on row 9, ahead of Adam Brown and Finn McCarty. And finally, Leona Theobald and Shravan Shamugavil for Elite Motorsport. Josh Rowledge, we know, has got a very quick car this weekend. Maybe it's all about the start here for Joe Warhurst and the latest round 12 of the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. Warhurst on the outside of the front row in the blue and black car, gets about an even start with Josh Rowledge, but Rowledge crucially has the inside line. 49 Maurice Henry, a great result yesterday for him, trying to slot down into second position at Duffers Dip, but it's third for the moment, and behind him is Sonny Smith. One off onto the curbing though is Fergus Chalmers by the looks of things from 6th position. Can he feed back in ahead of Zach Meakin, in fact? But I don't think Meakin's going to allow that too readily. They will be door handle to door handle. Oh, and another big wiggle for Chalmers as he tries to recover off into the gravel this time, and that's going to be a hatful of places that he will lose in the opening stages of this 20-minute race. The 71 car has lost so much forward momentum, and he now turns the wheel through Clark's. More cars off into the gravel as well. Mackenzie Douglas, I think that was, in the royal blue, as the top few cars, top 4 really, starting to break away a little bit because of that carnage behind the opening lap. As there, Maurice Henry nearly ran into the back of our race leader, Josh Rowledge. Stones being kicked up into the face of Zach Meakin, and that was from Sonny Smith, I reckon. Mackenzie Douglas is off the road again for the second time in one lap, coming out of the hairpin, but he will tidy it up on the exit. There's Zach Meakin then in the all-green car, and Sonny Smith getting stuck in the early stages. As he starts to battle now with Joe Warhurst, 3 abreast, chevron formation between the bottom of Duffers Dip and McIntyre's, and Maurice Henry trying to get the overlap there, the crucial inside line, which he does to get back ahead of Sonny Smith. This is all playing very nicely into the hands of Josh Rowledge, who is leading for the second time of asking into Clark's. Second place though, Joe Warhurst ahead of Maurice Henry, and then it is Sonny Smith. But Zach Meakin starting to bridge the gap now between Akel Alibi and those trio of cars ahead of him, and it will be side by side between Maurice Henry and Joe Warhurst as they head along the very bumpy railway straight. So through the slight kink at Hislops, they then leap on the brake pedal to arrest the speed of the cars into the hairpin, and good drive actually from the car that started on the front row alongside Josh Rowledge, Joe Warhurst. But Rowledge in another postcode in this early stage of the race, and it will be left to watch these 3 cars for second, third and fourth to scrap amongst themselves. And as they do so, that is drawing in Zach Meakin, as now it's side by side between Sonny Smith and off onto the grass for Maurice Henry. That's certainly not the quickest route through Duffers Dip, so he's lost a position with a touch as well. Sonny Smith did well to control that, and look at Akel Alibi in the yellow car, sniffing an opportunity up the inside line of Zach Meakin. That's bringing all of these Ginetta Junior cars together. Classic stuff from the youngsters. I'll remind you, 14 to 17-year-olds. A sideways moment there, though, for car 27, Flynn McCarty, who started from 20th place and had been starting to gain 1 or 2 positions. But I'm afraid right down the snake he goes to begin again from square one. To the inside line of the hairpin, it will be Maurice Henry, and he is trying to defend from Zach Meakin. It's also side by side behind for Will McIntyre. Now, for me, the 11th place that Will Mack was starting was a bit of a false spot, and you can see the red and black car now making very early progress, running the risk of some contact with his teammate, and through the chicane, that was the moment that Flynn McCarty ran out onto the grass and ran out of grip, and it flipped the car around very quickly. Lots of gravel on the road and dust as well, spying or indicating a slight mistake from a car up ahead, which might have been Zach Meakin, and more mistakes being happening here as well, with the 94 car across the nose of somebody else. So there's plenty of damage for Jacob Hodgkiss, and a spin as well. And that is who's that trying to recover? The 19 car of Kanato Lee, who's a big talent from Japan, the 14-year-old, but looks like the power cables from his brake lights there just dangling free from the rear of the car. Kanato Lee trying to get untangled from the car that he caught there coming out of Butcher's corner, but unfortunately both of them exiting stage right and having to gather their thoughts before continuing. Kanato Lee not losing a great deal of time. The same can't be said, though, for Jacob Hodgkiss, who had to find first gear once more, remember which way the track goes, and return to the black stuff. Did well, actually, to keep it out of the tyres. 14.5 minutes to go, side by side between Maurice Henry and Sonny Smith, and not very far away is Liam McNeely. He ran right through the gravel there and no doubt put the seed of doubt into Zach Meakin's mind, as now fully sideways from third position will go Maurice Henry. Now, he was on the top step of the podium yesterday, but a big mistake results in huge damage to the nose of car 49 because those behind him had nowhere to go. Sonny Smith surely now carrying damage because of that, and Zach Meakin. There is Smith's car, number 72, with a big shark bite out of the front left corner. He tried to stay away from the spinning Maurice Henry car, but contact was made, and Liam McNeely desperate to get by now as well. There's a massive queue developing behind these cars. Let's have a look at what happened. Way too much curb there. There's a big sausage curve on the inside corner for Maurice Henry, and that tears the nose of the Ginetta Junior away. 6 cars all dicing for position into Duffus Dip, with Liam McNeely now ahead of Zach Meakin, so quite a shuffle of the order because of an injured Sonny Smith car. He's right on the right hand side of the track there to defend as stoutly as possible to a couple of cars behind, and Liam McNeely actually has managed to go through that storm fairly well. Not too much damage on the car. Same cannot be said for Sonny Smith, who wants a bit more of it by the looks of things, running again out wide. That front left tyre looks a little bit low on the pressures as well. Certainly can't have been helped by the damage. It's really only fiberglass rather than carbon fibre that we need to worry about in Ginetta Juniors, but you can still get a sharp piece of that which will easily slice a Michelin tyre. The lead for Josh Rowledge is not necessarily going to see him through to the final bit of this race. Remember, 12.5 minutes or so still to go, and Rowledge had a comfortable lead of 3 or 4 seconds when I last looked, but Joe Warhurst has broken free now of Liam McNeely and is focused entirely on reeling in the race leader. Akil Alibi is to the outside there of car 77, Ian Aguilera, and Alibi looking for a way into Duffus Dip to go to the outside of the Mexican, but can't do it there. And again, good car placement from Ian Aguilera, putting it in the middle of the road to limit Akilbai's options into that right-hander. So Alibi following Ian Aguilera through the chicane on this occasion. Again, Sonny Smith is struggling, and that's going to be a big spin. Also kind of taking with him the 50 car off into the gravel. And unfortunate that, because often if you're following somebody else, you can really easily make a mistake. And off into the gravel, both cars went briefly. They will rejoin, and Adam Brown can focus again on the task in hand, which is getting to the checkered flag. It is nose to tail between Harry Reynolds and Will McIntyre, but this is how that developed. There is Adam Brown in the background skating through the gravel. There's a debris field of bits of Ginetta Junior left, right and centre, and he did well to avoid most of that. Back with the race leader, Josh Rowledge. 7.5 minutes still to go. Again, Liam McNeely virtually in the pit lane as he approaches turn 1. But this is the fight we're focusing on for 5th position, with Harry Reynolds having to look in both door mirrors and possibly over his shoulder at the same time, because Will McIntyre is maybe fashioning an opportunity. He will have to barge Harry Reynolds out of the way. There was contact there right at the apex of the corner, and another nibble there from Will Mack. But Harry Reynolds is able to just get back across the nose of the car and get through the chicane safely, but that will unsettle certainly the 23 car. Now off in the background is Luke Watts. After all that ground he's made from 17th on the grid, he runs an amazing 9th. But he has lost a lot of forward momentum there with that run, that rallycross moment coming over the rise at the chicane. So pressure off Ian Aguilera, his teammate for the time being, and Aguilera taking a very different look at the hairpin compared to those 3 cars who are very much over to the right-hand side, deep in defensive mode. Now, what is Aguilera's exit speed like? Pretty good, because he can apply the throttle much earlier than those 3 cars ahead. So he is right now on the rear bumper of Akil Alibi, pulling out of the slipstream. at possibly the opportune moment. He's got Will McIntyre as well to suck him along, and Aguilera to the outside. Will they go to abreast through Duffus Dip? No, not quite. Aguilera not brave enough to do that. I'm not sure he was quite close enough to do that either. Very squirrely moment for Will McIntyre, but that will result in him getting fantastic power off the corner and a really good overtake on Harry Reynolds as a result of that. Coming out of McIntyre's and through Butcher's, he got a much better run. To be honest, he looked all crossed up into the braking area, but that meant that he could put the power down far earlier than the Welshman up ahead. And Will McIntyre, after many laps of trying, is finally up to 5th place. Is that as high as he will get, though, now? Because Zach Meakin is well and truly up the road. McIntyre has gained a total of 6 places in the race so far. But Harry Reynolds wants one of those back again as they run into the hairpin yet again. 5.5 minutes still to go. This time, Akel Alibi in the yellow car to the inside. Harry Reynolds has got to be careful here that he's not railroaded several places down the order. And there's more drama for Flynn McCarty, who spins for a second time. So McIntyre and Reynolds, in fact, will arrive at Duffus Dip absolutely side by side, and Akel Alibi is not going to allow Reynolds the opportunity to get into the train. And the fellow Elite Motorsport run car, fellow that is to Will McIntyre, gets through, and so does Ian Aguilera. So Harry Reynolds well and truly on the back foot here. He's lost 1, 2, 3 places. It might even be 4 because Luke Watts is there as well in the R Motorsport prepared car. So he's looking for a way by. The R Racing machine, I should say, sister car to Ian Aguilera's. They're in similar team colours, you might spot, with the 23 of Harry Reynolds right in the meat in the sandwich. Reynolds struggled a touch yesterday as well in his finishing position. In fact, he did not finish. He was one of 4 retirements, so he's looking for points, and he's now looking to try and get at least 1 place back on Ian Aguilera. Very last minute, he darts to the inside. All about how much grip is available to Ian Aguilera on the high side of the exit of the hairpin. It looks like there's a bit, but he is pinching the space now to Ian Aguilera. Got to be careful not to edge him fully onto the grass. Aguilera says take that to fight back again, and now here comes Luke Watts to take opportunity, and Harry Reynolds thinks, what have I got to do here to keep these places? That's another one lost now, and Reynolds must be scratching his head, truly perplexed as to how he's lost 4 places in the space of about 2 laps. The Welsh Dragon resplendent on the side of Reynolds' car. He will get that spot back again on Luke Watts as they work their way through Butcher's, and now on Watts' tail is Mackenzie Douglas. Now, Watts and Douglas actually started alongside one another on the grid. As up the inside again will go Luke Watts. This is a great dice for battling, and which position is this for? 8th and 9th. It might as well be for the lead, frankly, as seriously as they are taking it. And again, the Elite Motorsport duo of Will Mack on the inside, Akel Alibi on the outside, arrive fully as one into the hairpin, as do these cars as well. Look at Mackenzie Douglas in the dark blue. Harry Reynolds is out in the kitty litter, and that will lose him more time. And a recovering 21 car looking to gain places as well, Alicia Parmovsky, as now there's going to be a 5-second penalty for car 24 because of a track limit infringement. I don't believe that affects any of the front run as well. It's Mackenzie Douglas, there he is, in fact, car 24. So he has slowly worked his way into the top 10, and he's unceremoniously dumped out of it now because that's a 5-second in-race penalty, which will effectively be added at the end of the race. But our timing tower to the left of your picture already incorporates it and puts Douglas down to 12th spot. Now looking for a way by is car 71, Fergus Chalmers. Chalmers has sort of been missing in action this race so far. He started in 6th but made a mistake early on and has been gathering all of that ground back ever since. Will McIntyre sticking the car right in the middle of the road as Akel Alibi tries to find a way by. He's only got 2 minutes and 20 seconds to try and do this. Ian Aguilera slightly too distant, and there's more spinners. That's Chalmers again in strife, and some contact with Harry Reynolds. So Chalmers will leave the scene with one of his headlights out of its socket. And look at Reynolds. This is just a horrible morning for him. After starting nice and high up on the grid, he's just been losing places hand over fist. And so far, very much a weekend to forget in Knockhill with his DNF yesterday. This is far from over, though, for 5th position. Let's have a look at what happened a couple of seconds ago at the hairpin then. It was Harry Reynolds throwing one up the inside, possibly in frustration, actually, and causing the spin for Fergus Chalmers. A slap as well to add insult to injury. The loud pedal is pressed by Josh Rowledge, and it really needs to be, because the gap has been whittled down by Joe Warhurst. At one point it stood at 2.5 seconds, but more than a glance into the mirror there for Josh Rowledge, because he is well aware he has a battle on his hands here. Joe Warhurst has just done the fastest lap of the race, and as mentioned previously, no distraction from behind for Joe in the blue and black car, and he has fully concentrated on trying to be a little bit quicker here and there than Josh Rowledge. And Rowledge under an awesome amount of pressure in the closing stages. Now, how much Michelin tyre has Josh got to lean on in the closing stages? He certainly didn't hang around in the opening 5 minutes because he wanted to build a lead, but the danger of doing that is that then you've cooked your tyres. It's not a particularly warm day here at Knockhill, but nevertheless these Michelin tyres are designed to be good on a 20-minute sprint, and if you nurse them in the early stages, as is the case for Joe Warhurst, then he's got a bit more up his sleeve with 37 seconds to go. So they will complete this lap, and there'll be one more. 0.7 of a second the gap between Josh Rowledge and Joe Warhurst. Then a bigger gap back to Liam McNeely of 6 seconds, over 6 in fact now, and Zach Meakin running in 4th position. Far from decided between Will Mack and Akel Alibi as well, 5th and 6th places, but hopping over the curb for the final time is Josh Rowledge, trying to focus on the road in front, seesawing at the wheel as well. Great to close in on his office space there as he heads through McIntyre's and Butcher's for the final time. He has a blue and black car from Elite Motorsport looming large in the mirrors though. The R Racing prepared Josh Rowledge car is the one in the box seat, in the grandstand seat at this stage, as long as he's not distracted on this bumpy road down Railway Straight and then into the hairpin. Really, Joe Warhurst has one opportunity to get by, and already he is making his intentions felt because he moves to the inside, then to the outside. Big element of doubt here for Josh Rowledge. He just needs to concentrate on getting a good exit out of the final corner. Joe's going to be right with him, but I don't think we'll be able to draw alongside because this is the final lap. There is the checkered flag, and Josh Rowledge will win by half a car length, quite possibly. It's 0.290 of a second over Joe Warhurst, and now two of Joe's teammates are going at it hammer and tong. There is a bit of contact there between Will McIntyre and Akel Alibi in and out of the hairpin, but Akel Alibi rather not able to get sufficient power off the corner. He might just about draw level with Will Mack, but they've already headed across the control line to cement those positions. So it's Will McIntyre who will finish marginally ahead of his teammate Akel Alibi. Warhurst on the outside of the front row in the blue and black car gets about an even start with Josh Rowledge. Mistakes happening here as well with the 94 car. Fully sideways from 3rd position will go Maurice Henry. Now, he was on the top step of the podium yesterday, but a big mistake results in huge damage to the nose. Big element of doubt here for Josh Rowledge. He just needs to concentrate on getting a good exit out of the final corner. Joe's going to be right with him, but I don't think we'll be able to draw alongside because this is the final lap. There is the checkered flag, and Josh Rowledge will win. Here's the result for round 12 of the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. Josh Rowledge victorious just by 0.2 of a second over Joe Warhurst. Liam McNeely completing the podium ahead of Zach Meakin, and a really good dice throughout the race between Will McIntyre and Akel Alibi. Ian Aguilera, Luke Watts, Alicia Palmowski and Mackenzie Douglas complete the top 10. Fergus Chalmers, a race to forget. He started 6th, finishes 11th. Not great either for someone riding high in the championship, Harry Reynolds, but Ella Lloyd will equal her best result of the season here at Knockhill with a 16th place. Sonny Smith eventually finishing a lap down despite riding high, and 4th for much of that, and Maurice Henry is well down.
Yeah, so I got a great start, if I'm honest.